Clouds was somewhat unique in the sense that the way that it exists now, like production-wise, the track, I wrote it almost exactly with that in mind. It was really just a matter of, once the recording happened, of just getting it there. And there wasn't a ton of experimentation that actually happened because I had such a clear image in my mind at the time it was written. And a lot of that came from what inspired it. I mean, I wrote it in late winter, early spring of 2022, just kind of in response to some world events that were going on at that time. You know, it was never any kind of political statement. More so, it was just a response to the realization that there were human beings wrapped up in these conflicts. And I had a super clear image of just what would it look like for maybe a middle-class working family to be in the middle of these conflicts. And you know, when I wrote it, it was with the intention of verse 1, perspective of husband, verse 2, perspective of wife. So it opens up with that piano part, and it stays pretty simple for a lot of the song, you know, leading up into that big ending. But very gritty, worn in. You can hear the crackling that was overlaid with it. And outside of that and these kind of drops that happen occasionally, there's not much going on until after the first chorus. You know, we got some of that kind of thing. After that first chorus, opening up into the orchestral stuff, which took a while. It took a lot of hours to get it right. Again, not because of experimentation, but because the articulation of how it needed to be was so specific in my mind. So it was just a matter of putting in the however many days or hours it took until it got there. Taking us right into Ellie's part, which was, it was the kind of thing where, you know, I did write it, not with her in mind specifically, but I wrote it with a female part in mind. And we happened to be doing some other work together at the time, so she was going to be in the studio anyway, and it crossed my mind that, you know, having gotten to know her range and kind of like where she sits in her head voice and kind of the breathiness and airiness of it, I realized there was a really good shot that this was right up her alley. So I kind of sent her a voice note one day. I was like, hey, can you sing this melody? I hadn't sent her the song yet, but just got her to try to sing, you know, those notes in that key. Turned out it was right where I thought it was in her voice, and she was perfect for the part. Let's just hear the strings and her part once in that verse.
These fields are glowing red. Remember when you were my king and the walls still stood tall. But if we're gonna fall, then go ahead, take all of me.
It was just so instantly cool the way that in that octave that she kind of sat over that string arrangement when she came in to lay these down, and it happened so fast just because it felt like the part was made for her. Right before that chorus we have just the big stacks. It was so much fun. And again, it was written with all of that in mind. That was the way it was originally written before it ever existed in this version.
Pleasure in the pain, pleasure in the pain, pleasure in the pain.
So I'll let this run for a second because there's some interesting acoustic parts coming up here. Let's just solo those out real quick. Those were weird because the mix was done and it was getting sent to the mastering stage, but there was still kind of like one last missing piece. I don't know why it was bugging me so much, but I was just like listening to the mix one day, and once I heard these two kind of acoustic parts, hard panned, it was really tough for me to hear the song without them. So I did end up going back in, retracking these, and just dropping them into the mix that already existed. And even now, listening back to them, it feels like, you know, they were always supposed to be a part of the song. And then coming out of that other chorus, we have this kind of outro instrumental section, which is, you know, admittedly me being a little self-indulgent, but it's so much fun. Let's listen to the drums a bit. Drop some bass in. If I pop these guitars in as well, let's just hear the guitars once. So basically what you got is you have a Telecaster all the way on the left, a Les Paul all the way on the right. And then the Strat comes in a little bit later. That's the lead part. Here comes our Strat. Big hits here. There's not too much to say about that other than it was an absolute blast to make, and I still think it's an absolute blast to listen to. Outside of that, it's really just, you know, back into that piano part that kind of lands the plane and takes us home.